This video is about alien life, something I've written books on, something I've theorized on. If alien life thinking it goes into your belief system, maybe you are looking at it from a wrong perspective. I think that's the first stumbling block, is alien life is somehow connected to some sort of belief system. The first thing people in this topic say, do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? Well, beliefs are some sort of emotional hook. Maybe if you somehow look at it differently than a belief system. Something is out there in the pop culture, but despite all the releases of the information and the movies from our imaginations, there are still people who feel that there are no aliens in the universe, UFOs, or intelligent signals. The rate of star formation was determined to be 7 stars per year. So I'm going to go in here with my software. And this program is available in a book I'm writing called DNA of the Gods. So you can create this software yourself and run it. I'm in Microsoft Visual Studio. So the average rate of star formation we just found from the website 7. This is per galaxy. So the number of stars with planets, so we're talking about the galaxy. So what is there, like 100 billion? So, number of planets with life. There's a new satellite that found 1,000. Let's say there's 100 with intelligent technical life. Length of time of intelligent technical life. So our civilization, the rise and fall, starting at the Indus Valley, which predates dynastic Egypt. The Indus Valley civilization built the Nala Bridge. It's 34 kilometers long to the island of Ceylon, and it's 3.4 kilometers wide. So that was done in 5000 BC. So that's about 10,000 years, the length of time for intelligent technical life. So we're going to say 10,000 years. And then we're going to hit calculate. This is the amount of intelligent civilizations in our galaxy. Now, that's quite a bit. That's a huge number. Not that long ago, it was thought that Earth had the only atmosphere and water in the planets of our solar system. And they believed that the solar system ended at Pluto and there was nothing beyond it. So since then, and this is recently, water has been found on every planet in our solar system. There's a planetoid series that has water. The water on Earth and in our solar system predates our solar system. So a lot has been learned about water in our solar system. The atmosphere on Earth is controversial, and we live in it. There is an atmosphere on the moon, very thin. It's the rocks that are outgassing on the moon. It has to do with the formation of the moon. There is debate on how the moon formed. Mars has an atmosphere. There's a little bit of a debate on the atmosphere of Mars. Actually, the debate on the Mars atmosphere is less than the debate on the Earth atmosphere. There seems to be rising carbon dioxide levels on Earth, and these levels haven't been seen ever, and that's the debate. Whereas Mars is pretty straightforward, it's got the same atmosphere. However, our instruments keep changing. Mars stays the same, our instruments keep changing. Now it is known that there's water on every planet in our solar system: Mercury, Earth, Venus, Mars, Ceres, the asteroid, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Pluto has water. When you get past the orbit of Pluto, that's another discussion. Trans-Uranian planetoids. Pluto goes in an orbit that sometimes is nearer than Neptune and sometimes farther than Neptune, and it's at an angle. So as I said, water predates our solar system. So when you're an astronomer, you go out for the telescopes for the first time, and you just look at whatever you want to look at in your time. I looked at all the nearest stars, and they were all double stars. So where our sun is a yellow dwarf, where is our twin? Well, that's theorized that we have a brown dwarf twin, and it is out there. They're looking for it. Past Neptune, not just Jupiter or Saturn as brown dwarf twins. There's something out there bigger, and this has led to the influences of astrology, the marking of time with astrology constellations, and then some people try to plot where the planets are, and for example, Aries, Scorpio, etc. So the secret societies know that the black star is the basis of astrology, and astrology predates anything that we know of. There's temples in Egypt where the astrology constellations are marked out there. So I think it's like the Vedic texts. No one knows who wrote the Vedic texts. They're very old, older than it is thought that human beings were intelligent. That's how old the Vedic texts are. It might even be the case that the astrology constellations, the art of astrology, predate human beings as well. It's given to us from another intelligent species walking the earth. Because astrology is based upon someone walking around on the earth and marking time. It's just that it's before we were intelligent. And they gave it to us, and so we've been trying to, interpret all of these things. So the water was came to our Earth before our star. So there's water out there. Well, once you point your telescope out in the universe and you find the twin stars everywhere, closest to us, and then you put instruments on your telescope, you start finding clouds of amino acids out there. So, some people think that the astronomers shouldn't talk about the clouds of amino acids because people will think that there's a Darth Vader out there blowing up stars and scattering the populations of the planets into space, and the only thing that's left is the clouds of amino acids. So that could be. What else is that the amino acid clouds are formed by natural processes in space. There are moons in our solar system that are composed entirely of organic molecules, like methane. Petroleum-like organic molecules. I don't want to get into the debate on if petroleum is made, naturally or by geological processes, because when you get down to a certain level, some of the biology is not alive. Viruses are not alive. They're just enzymes that speed up chemical reactions. So, right, there's a gray area. So maybe the moons that have all these organic molecules are full of viruses, and that's one of the theories of Panspermia is that the viruses came in on meteorites and started all these chain reactions in carbon. So the Drake equation predicts, getting back to, alien life. The Drake equation predicts a lot of alien life out there. So the Fermi Paradox is, where are all the alien lives? And so in the beginning of all of this discussion, all of these things were separated. Astronomy, UFOs, astrology, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, right? Now they're coming together. The Drake equation, water, the Fermi Paradox, Panspermia. There's an article saying that they have found hundreds of intelligent signals in space using telescopes. Okay, we're going to start out slow with this. I'm going to show you some objects, and then we're going to go up into why I write the books that I do. So this is a piece of amber from the Jurassic period, and it has a trapped insect in it. frozen. If I could get the DNA from this insect, I could probably get some DNA for some viruses, RNA for some viruses. There's probably some E. coli trapped here. E. coli takes in genetic material from its surroundings. And in the classical form of any of the Jurassic Park movies, I could get the blood that the insect was feeding on here. Maybe clone a dinosaur, I don't know. But if it was eating blood of an animal in the environment and it happened to be a dinosaur, red blood cells don't have the nucleus when they're fully mature in the peripheral system. So the insect probably did not get stem cells or, bone marrow cells. Anyway, you're going to see why I brought this up. It's cliche for one, but it demonstrates a principle. So there's a type of meteor and this has been around since the beginning of the solar system. Okay? So you could get things like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen from these. The dating techniques in the billions of years, right? So carbon-14 isn't around billions of years. So these are those types of meteorites that have been around since the beginning of the solar system. Why does this have a circular indentation on it? It's impossible. Look at this. This meteorite that's from the beginning of the solar system has right angles to it. All right. So this is metal meteorites floating in space, right? You do a atomic absorption on this, it doesn't match anything on Earth. You're like, whoa. Right? I mean, it shows up, right? Anyone who... They think you're playing a joke on them. And you can see all of those have the classic signs of coming in through the atmosphere. So you could drill into those types of meteorites and sample what's in there. So this is a meteorite that I've cut, right? Metal in space. So I began polishing this, and it was way out there. So I happen to be an engineer on an electron microscope in Silicon Valley. And the electron microscope I had was bought from Intel when they made the first wafers. We used it for working in Silicon Valley, and it was put together with wire wrap boards. They didn't have electron microscopes before, so the first ones were, you know, some guys took some wire wrap and just, you know, wired each wire from a schematic on a breadboard, and that was our electron microscope. So if you went to go and repair, right, there's no spare board to put in. It's a wire by wire by wire by wire by wire on a schematic. So I was, you know, I convinced our scientist, PhD in physics, you know, hey, let's take a look at this. So pretty much the top scientists in the world, engineers and technicians, we don't even know what that is, that sample. What's the question? What is it? What's the meaning of it? You know, so now I'm going to take you further. So this is a Mars meteorite, suspected Mars meteorite. This has layers of erosion visible from water. See, like a layer cake? Now at the time I had this. They didn't think there was water on any other planet except Earth. Now on Mars, there's the latest, like a couple days ago, is that there's a snowfield the size of Lake Superior, covered with a minimum of 3 feet of dust to 30 feet of, you know, Mars dirt. It's not called soil yet because it hasn't been proven that, you know, there's pine trees or anything up there. And the reason I say pine trees is, you know, wait till I start getting into some of the photos of Mars. But so these are the meteorites, and how I got into the some of the books that I've gotten into. You can see that this is the physical, you know, looking at the meteorites. I've weighed those meteorites. Density is mass over volume, so you can get the density of it. It doesn't even make any sense for anything. And even if you look at the electron microscope, I don't, you know, if you know anything about electron microscopes, you get the graph of the material, and of course, I mean, it's just completely meaningless. When you compare things on Earth, what they are. Like I said, meteorites, carbon-14 has no value. Potassium, argon, I don't know. But what you can do is, how much carbon there are in those types of meteorites. Are there fossils of like E. coli? What is the viral DNA, the RNA of the viruses can survive. They I don't have any examples, but viruses look like 30-sided dice. You've ever seen a dice with 30 sides that's used in like Dungeons and Dragons or something like that? They're crystals, viruses. You can hit them with X-rays and they'll survive. So, if that thing is from the Mars, Mercury has water in the craters. Mercury is not exactly inhospitable. Snow is in the Mercury in the shadows of some of those craters, and I don't know. You'd have to do an analysis. Some people know, like of all the rotations of Mercury, the facing of it. There's zones of habitability in Mercury. I got pictures of, some interesting features of Mercury. So Mercury is like a moon of something that has been knocked out from one of the planets. Mercury could be a moon of Mars, and Phobos, that looks like a potato of Mars, could have knocked Mercury out of its orbit and replaced it. And Mercury, there's all kinds of, you could work those out in computer simulations. So those are the meteorites. It's chapters, and in some of my books, I am going through contractors to try to convince them to run tests on some of them, because when you get the results back, they're completely meaningless. It's like if you are dropped from a helicopter on a mountain and you have this snow that's never been skied down the slope before. You're skiing down this mountain in completely untouched snow. You don't know what you're getting into. The same thing, you run a test on something like that, you don't know what you're getting into. So that's the Mars meteorites and the meteorite solar system portion of this book that I'm writing, and I was going to update you on that. So this meteorite I won this in an auction. I went out and participated in an auction for a Mars meteorite. So I'm going to put a sample in here, send it off for volatile gas isotope analysis. Now that's not the wording that they use. It could be. It can. And that's how you determine the origin of it. We know what what a Mars meteorite should be. Now, then, you know, I want to get the Genesis virus that created life on Earth. Viruses have the enzymes. So if you have a pool of organic liquids sitting around and you put an enzyme in that liquid, it takes off and you have life. And the enzymes come from the Genesis virus. That's the way it is. It's not possible for life to start in one location. Life is starting all around the universe simultaneously, and as soon as you come to grips with that, it becomes obvious that that's how things are going out there. So that's the Mars meteorite. These are early newspaper clippings collected by the Central Intelligence Agency when a dark satellite was detected and it was leaked out, and it somehow made it to a press story, and the CIA was watching the press, made the clippings, archived them, and gave them intelligence classifications. And this was released by the current CIA dump from the FOIA requests database. This was an article collected in 1960 by the Central Intelligence Agency from a press clipping, and this was given a CIA document number, and they were watching press releases and information on a mystery object that was discovered, and they're usually given names like dark satellite, mystery satellite in orbit, those kind of things. And the CIA released this in the Freedom of Information Act dumping, where they made these files available online, and it's showing that they're keeping track of press releases of mystery objects and keeping that information in media files. This is a document that was released from the CIA from the FOIA archive on a dark satellite that they found, that they believe the public information release is that it is to be said that it poses no national security threat. These are images from STS-088. So that's a space shuttle mission. And these are what are commonly known as the Black Knight or the Dark Knight. And it may or may not be related to the CIA information from the FOIA requests. And I've done videos on these images where I've enhanced the images. And there's still one of them not being released by NASA. These are two identical computers that were ruined by persons of unknown origin when I was researching the Black Knight satellite. So I would like to talk a little bit about banking and funding of science fiction movies and documentary films on aliens, technology, robots, and that kind of thing. People have to realize that for these movies to be produced, these ideas were presented from a pitchman to a banker, and the banker funded these projects. And a lot of documentary film is funded by the government. If you notice at the credits at the end, a lot of scientists are consulted for these movies. A good example of persuasion that was done by documentary films is the persuasion needed for the layouts of cities and conversion of cities to move the industrial areas to separate areas from the living areas. Okay, when the Industrial Revolution first occurred, you had the industrial areas. You wanted to, people wanted a short commute. You hop out of bed, you would go to the coal burning electric plant, in the town square. And it took a lot of convincing to put the industrial areas far away from the housing areas. And this was done through government-funded documentary film. So this is what's going on with these alien films, technology, robotic films. It is being funded, and it is true, there's probably someone saying, oh, this is for the public good, for this film on aliens. At the time, it's probably all the information that they had. So some of the science fiction films about aliens were panicked because they were panicking. Okay, so there's been a release of like the WOW signal. People know that signal was detected from the center of the galaxy. Time magazine had an article once where they listed 7 possibly SETI signals. Okay, there has been a article in a scientific journal where there's 243 stars with possible signal intelligence. Okay, now this gets into the subject of what we're expecting all along. You can see where, people are wondering, well, why does it take them so long? I mean, as soon as we had the first large-scale metal forge, we should have been building a Death Star. We should have an Imperial Star Destroyer sitting in orbit right now. When we discovered the WOW signal, where is it? Now there's 243 WOW signals. Where is it? I mean, we're completely defenseless. There's no Death Star, there's no Star Destroyer. We don't even have the Millennium Falcon around there to say this. So you can imagine, so there's a room in the Pentagon for the WOW signal. This is the team that is going to forge the treaty with the civilization behind the WOW signal. There's an office there, there's a lawyer, and there's a way to, trying to threat assessment of that star, right? Now there's 243. So there's going to be an office for extraterrestrial threat assessments for Civilization 1. And the lawyer for that team. Then there's extraterrestrial civilization, number 2, 3, all the way to 243, okay? There's not enough lawyers in the world to make all those treaties. So here we are. What is being done? And people we knew, were saying, well, they were not believing that every star had planets. And it took a lot of convincing that the stars there had planets. There are so many planets that are habitable for life that you could put one person in the world on every planet that's habitable for life out there. There's going to be a lot of planets that are habitable. The numbers are starting to come in now. There's 240. So you're saying they're still using electromagnetic radiation in the form of AM radio that we're detecting. Okay, that's 243 civilizations in the 1930s that we've detected. So many light years away. So that's when they were there, right? What are you going to do now? Okay, so it went from one WOW signal, and then if you really dug deeper, Time magazine found 7 over the history of astronomy, which goes way back. The Chinese were making notations of supernovas, long time ago. Okay, so now it's 243 WOW signals. There is not enough offices at the Pentagon to have a lawyer making a treaty and a team of scientists making a threat assessment for each of those intelligent signals. Now they're overrun with intelligent civilizations. We don't have a fleet of spaceships. We don't have a Death Star. We don't have an Imperial Star Destroyer. At the moment where we could have made a steel beam, 100 foot long, we should have been building an Imperial Star Destroyer somewhere. We should be building Imperial Star Destroyers on Mars. It has less gravity. And you could throw it off like a paper airplane from Mars. Building an Imperial Star Destroyer, it would be easy. A foundry on Mars. Look at all that minerals they have over there. There's an alloy you could probably come up with on Mars and make an Imperial Star Destroyer on Mars. So that's what's going on. And, you know, I've been at, you know, I was just at an alien con where I just got out of a seminar with extraterrestrial law. And that's eye-opening, you know, in itself. Clouds from previous supernovas are out there. Anything heavier than iron comes from a supernova. So if you recall, the fusion is involved hydrogen and helium. So the star, the gravity is crushing helium, right, hydrogen, all the way down the periodic table one at a time. When it gets to iron, it starts trying to fuse iron, and it can't. So if enough of it explodes, it's a supernova. So if you recall, iron's used in our blood. Okay, so blah blah blah. Alien life is probably out there. So smart people have thought that alien life is out there. So you come into, well, if there's alien life out there, ha ha ha, they can't come here, the distance is so great. They can't violate Einstein's relativity. No one is saying that you can't go faster than the speed of light. That's an artificial construction boundary that someone has faked you out and put that there. Here at UFO Con on location.
Melinda Leslie is with us today, and that's incredible because she travels all over. She has her own TV show, coast to coast. You were just on Fade to Black with Jimmy Church. She travels all over, and she's one of the most startling and intelligent speakers in that she takes apart sort of the hidden agenda of what's going on with extraterrestrials. So her program today is the covert program of reverse engineering extraterrestrial abductees. Experience, evidence, and implications are absolutely out of this world. Brace for impact because this is the incredible Melinda Leslie.
So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. All right, very good. So again, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm Melinda Leslie, and this title, as you said, is this lecture is the Covert Program of Reverse Engineering Extraterrestrial Abductees, often referred to as MILABs in the abduction and UFO research communities. And this is all about the experiences, the evidence, and the implications. I have a lot to cover really fast, so I admit I'm going to be moving quickly. And that not work? The timer not going? No, it's going, it just doesn't want to stay. Okay, so my research is an ever-evolving state of research. Ufology is an ever-evolving. If someone comes and says, oh, I just heard all those people 5 years ago, they only say the same thing. You're not keeping up with the field. This field changes constantly. They're having abductions by human military only without ETs present. But because they're alien abductee and contactees that they're even having that experience. There's mind control procedures with intimidation, fear inducement, hypnosis, and drugs administered. There's in-depth interrogations and debriefing procedures. They're being roughed up and physically abused. They're having medical and genetic procedures, exploratory surgery, removal of possible alien fetuses, and possible cloning experiments going on in these events. There's the testing and demonstration of psychic and paranormal abilities going on in these covert human events. There's the involvement with the abductee, with the intelligence community, with what people would either call insiders, and what another abductee, I'll get into this a little more later, terms minders, where you're being minded, like, watched, followed, but also having your life directly interfaced with, again, the personal life of the abductee. And the abductees and contactees are being recruited into covert programs, sometimes willingly and consciously, and or unwillingly and unconsciously. So here's just a couple pictures about, this is just a few evidentiary pictures of some of the stuff that happens that I just mentioned. There's black helicopter harassment, and there's actually a craft in the sky too, so they got the UFO and the helicopter harassing them at the same time, circling them low. There's vans. I just got a new one that someone sent to me on the Facebook page for the organization FREE, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. I think that's the last time I'm going to say it. I'll get tongue-tied. But someone just sent me a great picture that it was a still frame from a surveillance video camera, security camera on their home, and it's great. It's another picture, unfortunately I didn't get to add to this, of another person who had a black van with tinted windows parked outside of their home. But gosh, if it doesn't look just like these, and these are from two separate cases, this almost looks like the same person, the same case. These are two separate people who live in other areas who have these vans parked outside their home monitoring them. And like I said, I just got another picture. This is from an abductee drawing this of helicopter harassment over a trailer park, being followed by a dark car with tinted windows, having a gentleman pull up next to her and photograph her for no reason, and black vans, again, coming up behind her house. She was laying outside in the stage lounge, and these guys dressed all in black came, sprayed something in her face, and she had an abduction with them. This is one of my own drawings from my own experience of being in an underground base and being escorted en naturel on an elevator with a military guard. And yet another abductee drew this of a large military installation near a body of water, and these large cigar ships, very large, that's in UFO sighting lore, there's various shapes that are known, and one of the many shapes often seen as a long cylinder, often referred to as a cigar ship in shape. So on Monday, May 20th, 2013, I woke in my hotel room at the Super Soldier Conference, my nose stopped up, and blew my nose to find a slight amount of blood and new scab-like material coming out. Monday morning, while in the shower, I noticed bruises on my forearms, and I wondered how I got them, and it crossed my mind that there may have been some sort of experience since I couldn't account for the bruises. My roommate there, a friend of mine, went with me to the conference. She actually went to gamble, since I had a hotel room paid for, thanks to Lorianne, who was the producer of that conference. So I'll call her S. I'll call everyone just by their first initial. S had come to the conference with me, and we're rooming together. I showed her the bruises And while they weren't very dark, she saw them very clearly. And to this day will attest to the fact she saw the bruises. And then another person involved in the event, another speaker there who was also one of the group taken, I'll call her E. When E, another speaker, first mentioned the experience on Monday, I had some immediate recall and was remembering what happened. E showed me photos of a broken door safety latch on her hotel room door and another hotel room door of another person involved. She said that J, I'll call him that, J's door latch was broken the same way, and there was photos of it. I had a visceral reaction when E told me something had happened, and I told her about the bruises on my arm and my bloody nose that morning. And I showed her my left arm bruising when she then rolled up her sleeve, and she had bruises and showed me hers on her arm. She had the same bruises I did. The night of the event, I was woken in my hotel room, with the door opening out to the hallway, and two men entered. There was some kind of electronic pulse with a snapping sound that was keeping my roommate S asleep. They had to shake me hard many times, shake me many times to wake me up and override the sound, and then to get me to stay awake. S, my roommate, remained sound asleep. The only light in the room was from the hallway. It's, hotel hallway, so the hallway's well lit. Hotel hallway outside, and it took my eyes a few minutes to adjust. E had said we were taken into a yellow van, infamous scoop mark on somebody's leg. This is actually the left picture, is one of my pictures, a scoop mark on my leg. Actually, 2 years ago, I had my last ET experience was 2 years ago, but I had this new scoop mark, and this was the very next day, so that's healed, marked like that the very next day after the experience. A case of mine had this mark on his neck. I've now have a couple other people, I'm trying to get photos from them that say they've had this exact same mark on their neck after an experience. Cookie cutter, little hole. This is someone who had this burn, these are burn patterns on the back of their hand after an abduction. Again, this is a little burn mark, but it's a perfect straight line of little marks going up their leg. The late Roger Lear did 17 surgical removals of alien implants. These were 2 of them. And they have these little wires and filaments coming off of them.
So, as you can tell, by the end of the second day, the material was a horror show. Like, the abductions and the military involvement of the abductees. Like, it's the classic, everyone kind of knows, like the scoop marks, the burn marks, missing time. The statistics for how many people are being abducted are staggering. Whoever is responsible for both military abductions, alien abductions, they know what the percentage of the population they have to maintain their numbers at to keep it from being well known. And they're pushing that number. Like, they know, for a population of 10,000, they know how many they can abuse their power with and get away with it, So if they're certain that you're being abducted by aliens, the government, whatever government, military, whoever they are in the government, they're going to get that person and strip you down and drug you and take you into a variety of different debriefing bases all over the world, and these are bases near your town. And so, and there's so there's the ET abductions, the military abductions, and what they're going over is there's a third group that is mixed ET, and they're saying American military is working with extraterrestrials. Now, what's interesting is that the people that are being abducted, where they see a military uniform, they're not familiar with the military uniform, what military it is. So you're kind of wondering what is this that's happening to these poor people. And then there's a handful of doctors that are removing the implants placed by extraterrestrials and an unknown military contingent. A hidden military of some kind. Somewhere. So this is what the people keep trying to get disclosed, is who are these people that are conducting this obviously illegal activity, and no one could get anywhere with this disclosure of what is happening.